Could you elaborate on contextualization of data, what it is, and how do the fabric and mesh architectures help in achieving the contextualization?
Yeah. I mean, contextualization is one of the most fundamental principles of a data fabric or a data mesh as well, right? Without the context of data, the data is useless, actually, to be honest. It's in bits and bytes, right? Data could be garbage, I guess, right? In fact, you'll be surprised, only 25% of data today in most organizations is used for analytics. 75% of data is not used. It's hidden away somewhere. And why? Because people don't have the context of data of that 75%. Only 25% is used. Now, having said that, context of data is actually to identify it into a business term, right? Like, this is customer data, this is product data, this is supplier data. And I think you have to have this context of data, right? And I think this, having the taxonomy built around this is very important, especially if you're trying to bring in this new data sources. Like, if at all you're trying to get data from social media, how does that social media connect to my customer data? No, and that's very important, right? Because we want to know if this customer has been saying good things about the product or bad things about the product, but also what are the opportunities for us to sell to the customer if at all there are some weaknesses with the products, right? So connecting the dots is all about contextualization, right? So context is about data, is all about connecting the dots. Now, the connecting of dots is not so easy to do, right? Sometimes you got to look at all of those things around manually, that, hey, this data connects with that data and what have you. And that's simple. If you have 10 sources of data, it's simple. When you have 1,000 sources, it becomes a nightmare of how you do the connections, right? And that's why new technologies and architectures have been emerging around knowledge graph and graph data engines, right? So graph engines, right, basically provides you that context of data through these connections, like a Facebook, right? When you join the Facebook, it'll give you recommendations about your friends and friends you may know. And how is it doing it? Through the connection of data, right? And I think connection of data is very important, and that's context, right? Context of data itself, right? So I think you got to do is to really have that enablement. Now, the good thing with Fabric is that Fabric actually has some now emerging built-in intelligence, which means as the data starts to get ingested or connected, it knows what data is getting connected, what data is getting ingested. Is it got customer data? Is it got private data, sensitive data? It doesn't know it. It's got partner data, supplier data. So the context becomes more rich and engaged with the fabric. And I think as time progresses, we do believe that contextualization becomes even more relevant for these fabrics. And I think you're going to see a lot more. And you know, one way we've seen customers do is to have what you call these data models, which people have these templates, or what you call pre-built models, which could be leveraged so that they can actually jumpstart and accelerate those deployments, right? Otherwise, it could be a nightmare starting from ground up, which is what Fabric does, right? So, yeah.